Hey, it's Rick from DreamSideOut. I'm coming up on my 4th anniversary of living in a truck, and I have some thoughts to go with it. So stay with me. All right, so I suppose if I think about what to share with you about my last 4 years, there are 3 categories that come to mind of things that may be helpful for you to hear. One is the financial aspect of living this way, and how has that affected me? Number 2 would be the mobility, the freedom of mobility aspect. And number 3 would be the minimalist lifestyle aspect of living this way and how that has actually played out after 4 years. So I'm going to discuss each one of these in that order. All right, the first category that I have to talk about this lifestyle is my financial situation. How has that played out over 4 years for me? Well, first of all, for me, I am different, I think, than a lot of the hip van dwelling channels that you see out there. I'm not a wandering nomad that's living the wonderful carefree lifestyle and living off of YouTube and all that kind of stuff and not working for the man. I always hear again and again how, one of the reasons people do this is because they don't want to sell out and work for a place and they want to be free from that sort of thing. Well, freedom is a kind of a relative term. Financial freedom is also relative. It's relative to how much money you have as opposed to how much money you don't have. That's exactly. Now, if you can live on less, that's great, and that's what I've tried to do. But I had some specific goals in mind. I do have a day job. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I've been working at a place for over 34 years now, and I start, as I get closer to retirement, there's certain financial goals I want to meet. So this lifestyle has enabled me to save more money than I probably would have if I had been paying rent in some apartment close to where I work. I probably could have done it similar if I just lived in a dumpy little place somewhere, but the whole idea of living in an apartment, paying rent to a landlord, and being kind of tied to that spot, and then at any whim they can kick you out or do whatever they want, that whole thing was not appealing to me. I didn't want to do that any longer. And because I moved into a van and I keep my expenses fairly low, I was able to crank up my savings to a great degree, and I have been able to save a significant amount of money in 4 years off of my constant salary that I have, and that has been good. That right there is a clear, measurable financial gain that I got from living this lifestyle. And I really truly believe that a lot of younger folks that I see in this van dwelling genre on YouTube should start thinking about things that way. Instead of, cutting loose from society, so to speak, and being a complete carefree person and not signing up to any job or anything, think about it a little differently. I know that many of you out there have probably huge college debts. And it's really not your fault for getting in that debt. Our society has taught you to do that. You're supposed to get in debt before you even have a job. I mean, that's just ridiculous. But I know lots of young folks who are in huge college debt, and they got this hanging over them. They don't know how to get out from under it. Well, this van lifestyle is a possible way to do that. Get yourself a paying job, stay with the job, live in a van, and just live minimal on a little bit of money without paying rent, and pay that sucker down until it's gone. Get out from under your debts. Now, that is something that I have benefited from in this van life. I have no significant debts. I've been able to save money. I don't pay a mortgage or rent. I just have my cell phone and my insurance payment, and that's about it. I do have a storage unit, and that's another thing that it's actually a burden. But I think I wish I could see a lot of the younger folks thinking more along the lines of, instead of slamming the standard way of living, working at a job and all that kind of stuff. That really, just because you don't work at a job doesn't mean you're free. I feel much more free being able to save money and work towards something. Maybe you're a young couple and you want to buy a house or something, and you don't have kids yet. Well, shoot, do this lifestyle for a while and work at jobs and just bite the bullet and do it. And if you do this for several years, 3 or 4 years, you'll get a chunk of money saved up, and you might even be able to buy something with cash. You never know what you can do if you play your cards right. And get out of this debt mindset that we have in society. I mean, we're really strapped in this country with debt. Just look at the national debt clock. Go to usdebtclock.org and take a look at that sometime. This lifestyle offers a possible way out of that, and that's one of the biggest benefits I've gotten from this, and that's why I put it first. Anyway, I think that's enough said with that. Okay, the second most important thing to me that I benefited from in this lifestyle is the mobility and freedom aspect of it. Now, when I say mobility and freedom, I'm not talking about the kind of thing you'll see in a lot of the hip YouTube van videos where people are wandering around the country. They're in bikinis on beaches all the time, and that's great for a YouTube channel. And I'm not knocking their YouTube content at all, but I'm just saying it's not a very realistic thing. I mean, like I said in the first section, financially, if you don't have some, steady income, that's gonna wipe out income pretty fast, just driving around all the time. So what do I mean by mobility? Well, here's the thing. I mean, if I want to save money, let's say, just in a practical sense, if I wanted to save money, I could go out and find some cheap apartment or a room in somebody's house to live in. That's one possibility, and perhaps I could do the same thing that I'm doing this way. But whenever you rent a space that's hooked to the ground, you're forced to come back to that all the time, and after a while it gets sort of, for me, it gets sort of demoralizing and demeaning, because you've got this landlord you got to answer to, and perhaps you have roommates that you've got to deal with, and perhaps the place is just a rundown piece of junk because you're trying to save money and that's all you can maybe afford. Well, living in a van offers freedom and mobility from that. I mean, for instance, I sometimes need a place to take a break. I'll need a place, like I'll go rent a hotel room sometimes. I've done that several times, just because I need to go just have an oasis and take a break from it, and have a bathtub and all that kind of stuff. That's okay. But most of the time, I come, if I want to change the scenery or something, I can go park someplace where that gives me a certain ambiance and feeling, like next to the water, next to the ocean, or travel over to a town that I like. Things like that. I'm free to do that, and I'm not tied to that doggone apartment all the time. And I remember the feeling of that. It kind of hangs over you. My storage space right now is hanging over me in that same way. I've worked it down significantly getting rid of stuff, but I have lots of memorabilia, and I'm going to either have to just go out and have a bonfire and burn it all, or I'm going to have to get rid of it somehow. But I'm telling you, the freedom and mobility that I enjoy from this life is just not the grandiose nomadic wandering around the whole country type of thing. It's just being able to, park here tonight and park a different place tomorrow night, and being able to roll away from a place whenever I want to. And I've have my spots all around the region. So it's sort of like if you live in a region and you're working at a job, you can make that whole region your playground, your yard, your place that you can be, and you can make it work quite nicely. I really like that about this lifestyle, the mobility of it. Okay, I put as my last thing that I've learned in this lifestyle into the minimalist category. How have I fared as a minimalist in this van-dwelling lifestyle? Well, there's kind of two sides to that. As I mentioned in the financial aspect of it, because I have forced myself to live minimally, I'm able to have more money to save. Okay, I remember I did a video, one of my very first videos, about my philosophy of requiring less instead of acquiring more. There's a mindset there. We always think that we need more of this or another one of those, or some more here, some more there. If instead you say, well, I could do with half of that instead of this much, or I could just go without, or you start thinking that way, you actually at that moment have more, because you're requiring less. Like, I don't require this, I can do this without that. I'm trying to find an example in my mind of something like that. Well, the big one in this glaring us in the face here is the fact that I don't require a fixed location to live. Because of that, I have more money in the bank right now, and it's as simple as that. Now, on the other side of it, have I been a real good minimalist? Well, not exactly. I mean, I haven't yet gotten rid of my junk in my storage unit, because a true minimalist, narrows all of their possessions down to just a few things. So I haven't quite gotten that far yet. I'm still working that direction. I live with very few things in my van, but I sometimes feel like I got too much junk in my van. I don't know what it is. No matter what kind of space you live in, you start collecting more junk unless you're disciplined about it. I'm not a hoarder, but I probably somehow collected too many clothes. Now I got to get rid of some of those. There's just a lot of things in here that I don't really need, that I need to clean house. But that being said, I have a fairly minimalist life. I don't need to have, all kinds of stuff. And I've been working consciously toward getting that down to, next to nothing, because there is a freedom in that. Boy, once you get rid of something that's been bugging you, it's been around a long, and you finally decide to unload it and get rid of it, it's such a relief. I've taken loads of stuff to the Goodwill or to the garbage dump and just gotten rid of it, and boy, it's a good feeling when you get rid of that stuff and you don't have to deal with it anymore. My goal is just to get down to where I just have the bare minimal stuff. But in the quest for minimalism, though, I have to be honest, there are some things you realize that you can't do without. You'll find that's one of the things you learn about it. There's just some things I have to have for just general everyday living. That's one of them. But for other things that feed my soul. Like I have to have a guitar, you know, and I have to have a creative space and things like that. So those are things I can't just get rid of, because minimalism, I don't think is the process of paring yourself down to nothing but a skeleton walking around. I think you still have to be human, but you just want to unload the things that are impeding that and get to the real you. I think the real me, that's what I've been looking at. And you can see in this, that's what this van lifestyle and living this way helps you see that in yourself better. I think we don't see often, we're unconscious of the clutter that we build up around ourselves. And if you're forced to live this way, you really are you know, you really have to take a look at that. Okay, I guess that's all I can say about the minimalist life. Okay, now just to wrap up this long talk here, just a few final thoughts. I didn't mention in any of my categories there some of the other types of benefits that I've personally gotten from this. I have gained a really nice sense of community of folks like this that I've come to know over the past few years, and who are in different parts of the country. And it's only because of living this way that I connected with the tribe, so to speak. And that's a cool thing, to be a member of a, you know, a tribe like that of nomads or whatever we call ourselves. And everybody I've met's been a quality person, and I've gained from knowing those folks. People share information about how to do things better, and how what they're doing. I've met some really incredibly interesting people through this, and I've have friends in other countries, all over the world. You know, and that's because of the internet mostly, and YouTube, social media. So there's that's the good side of social media, the true social contact, the quality kind of social contact that you can get through it. We like to slam social media for all the negative stuff, of course, which is true. There is a lot of negativity to it, but because of that connection and the meetups and things like that I've been to, that's been really good. So I think that this continues on for me. It's not over yet. Heading into year number 5. I'm open to whatever might lie ahead, whatever changes might come. And I'm sure there will be some things I don't see yet, because, you know, we just live in this particular moment. I can't see the future. I don't think anybody can. Thanks a lot.